Welcome back. Now, as Namibia develops its oil and gas sector, there are significant opportunities and, of course, challenges for both local and international stakeholders. Tonight, we will explore key investment prospects, how to attract more foreign direct investment and ensure that local businesses benefit. Joining us in studio this evening is Mr. Shakwa Nyambe, a specialist in energy, natural resources and commercial law. He will be sharing insight on the future of Namibia's oil and gas industry and its potential to transform the country's economy over the next decade. We will also discuss, of course, the upcoming oil and gas conference, which is scheduled to take place from the 20th to the 22nd of August 2024. Good evening and welcome, sir. Thank you so much for being here.
Evening. Thank you for having me, Nina.
Talk to us about, the main investment opportunities in Namibia's oil and gas sector, both for local and international investors.
Thank you. Namibia is now a hotspot for oil and gas because of the oil and gas discoveries which were done by Total Energies, Shell, as well as Gulf. So everybody within the sector is looking at Namibia. And there are many opportunities for both international investors as well as for the local. So on the international investors, most of the opportunities are now on the upstream sector. That's where the exploration is happening, or the drilling. So there's opportunities for these companies from outside to come in the country, apply for some blocks, petroleum blocks from the Ministry of Mines and Energy. Some of them can come in and buy assets. That is by buying some interest within the existing blocks already, so that they can partake in the operations in Namibia. And the international companies bring along opportunities for local companies, because the local companies can partner with these international companies when they're applying for these petroleum blocks. So they get a minority interest in the operations. They get exposed to the business of oil and gas, the exploration, the appraisal. They get exposed to the technology, and that's how they can grow over years, so that they can become big players within the industry. And then a lot of low-hanging fruits for most local companies, which will be providing services, goods and services to the industry.
Talk to us about how Namibia, is able to attract more foreign direct investment.
Yes, Namibia is a very attractive foreign investment country due to the prevailing circumstances which enable investment. We tick all the boxes which investors are looking for, not only within the oil and gas, but in other sectors. But within the oil and gas, what is important is the stability of the fiscal regime as well as the legal regime. So our fiscal regime is very good. We have good, attractive petroleum income tax at 35%. Our royalty is very low, as compared to other countries at 5%. And also the legislation itself, the petroleum regime, is very attractive in that it offers a lot of incentives. And then on top of that, our country is governed by rule of law. So we have all the separation of powers within the structures or organs of government, and then the property rights protection. So investors want to come in and invest and ensure that their businesses and their properties are protected. So fortunately for Namibia, we have all those ingredients. Hence, we are so attractive, even for oil and gas.
You mentioned earlier how the opportunities are there for local investors, or to get into the oil and gas by partnering with foreign investors when it comes to the exploration phase of the process. But how do we better integrate, local businesses into the supply chain of the oil and gas industry?
Thank you for that question. Very important. And integration of local businesses is enabled also by the policies of government. And when I talk about the policy, what will be relevant here is the local content provisions within our laws. The government is working on a local content policy than the regulation. However, at the moment, our current legislations, which is the Petroleum Exploration and Production Act, has some local content provision. Not so adequate, but they are there, which requires or obligates the international oil companies to make use of the local service providers, make use of the local manufacturers, so long as those goods are so good and they meet the standards for the operations. So that's how the locals can come in ensure that they start supplying what they can supply for the services, more especially during the drilling. There are many things which are needed, which the locals can do, from the logistics, the car rental, real estate, in terms of accommodation, hotels. We talk about construction and engineering. We talk about consultancies for the geoscientists, geologists and the lawyers. All these opportunities are there, but the locals need to start getting involved so that they can seize the opportunities. They need to attend a lot of these platforms where oil and gas operations are being discussed so that they know where these opportunities are.
What would you say are the most critical infrastructure needs for Namibia's oil and gas sector to be able to thrive?
Yes, we still need a lot of improvement on our infrastructure. At the moment, because we are at the exploration stage, and then as well as appraisal, from there we move to development.
Right.
So when you are developing the offshore infrastructure, there will be a lot of equipment and tools which will be coming from different parts of the world to ensure that the installations are done offshore, be it the floating productions, storage and offloading, or any of the equipment needed for the piping which is used for the production. So that will require that we need to expand our ports, expand the port at Walvis Bay as well as Lutritz. Fortunately, the NAMPORT, the authority dealing with the ports, is already attending to that, and they have already indicated that they have big plans to expand that. So that is number one. And we need to expand also on our railway line and road for the onshore oil and gas exploration. As you might know, Recon Africa is exploring onshore in the Kavango. So if they are to succeed there, they need to bring that crude oil from the Kavango up to the port. So at the moment, our rail line ends in Grootfontein. So we need to take it up to Rundu and then up to Katima so that we connect with the neighboring countries to be able to supply them with whatever we're doing. So those are some of the critical infrastructure, but there will be more need for hotels. The industry is big. This country will be transformed.
You mentioned earlier that local businesses need to involve themselves at, at platforms where oil and gas conversations are being had and able to educate themselves concerning the sector. But how do we ensure that Namibia has a skilled workforce to meet the demands of the growing oil and gas sector?
Yeah, I think as a country, Namibia has been doing well so far through the Petroleum Training Fund, Petrofund, which administers some of the training and education levies, which the oil companies, when they sign petroleum agreements with the government, they agree on an amount they should pay to the government for training and education. So Petrofund administers 70% of that money. And what they've been doing over years is to send Namibians for undergraduate and postgraduate studies in the energy as well as oil and gas, be it geoscientists, geologists, as well as lawyers. So some of us have benefited from that, where we're co-sponsored by Petrofund and some of the international institutions. So that's why we managed to get the skills and managed to get involved in the business. So, but we should go beyond the formal postgraduate or graduate, go to the vocational training so that we equip our painters, electricians with the certifications for them to be able to work in the oil and gas sector, because you need to be satisfied there. So that's what the Petrofund is doing now. They've advertised for more training and scholarship for the vocational training.
Fantastic. Mr. Nyambe, just lastly, before I let you go, of course, I think we all understand what potential opportunities lies within Namibia's oil and gas sector as it develops, but what are the major challenges that you foresee within the sector?
Yeah, I think the major challenges is firstly, the immediate major challenge which we need to address is to ensure that the locals, as early as possible, at exploration and appraisal stage, as well as development, they get involved. So by getting involved, it means you make it easier for them through the regulations and the policy which compels the international oil companies, the international service providers, to reserve certain types of work, for example, security services, insurance, and others. You know, we ring-fence that to be provided by the local companies. And then we say, in terms of employment, for these types of jobs, this can be 100% occupied by Namibians. And then we put also an elevation structure where after certain number of years, if you had a general manager from another country, then you would have trained Namibians to take over. So that's what we call now the effective implementation and monitoring of a local content framework. So we need to put that, and then we need to put the mechanism to monitor.
Fantastic. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Daily Roundup this evening. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
When we come back, we have some more conversations here on the Daily Roundup. Stay with us.